Hello, everyone, and welcome to A Balancing Act, the podcast devoted to helping families navigate memory loss and dementia. I'm Kelly Burtonshaw. Let's get started. Welcome back, everyone. Do you remember when you were first told about your loved one's dementia diagnosis? That moment when the earth seemed to shift under your feet and your heart skipped a beat. You didn't want to hear this news, but deep down, you likely knew it was coming. When we are confronted with information that threatens the stability of our lives, oftentimes our first instinct is to deny there is a problem. We may panic, we may get angry, we may want to run away. And it's only human to react in this way, because our internal alarm system that once helped us respond to physical dangers activates. And before logic has time to organize itself, the emotional brain moves to shield us. Denying there is a problem may help us cope with bad news in the short term. It gives us time to catch our breath, to adjust to a new reality. And I want you to know up front that this episode is not about shaming anyone. It's about helping families understand that postponing acceptance of the situation can delay taking action, and action helps us regain control over distressing news. What's particularly hard is that early cognitive changes can sneak up on us. Even before a diagnosis, the family senses something's not right. Mom just put the butter in the oven. Dad misplaced his keys for the 100th time. But still, we hope. We hope things are not as they seem. One of my patients told me, as long as my mom's condition remains a mystery, I still have hope it might resolve. I've also sat with spouses who can repeat a neurologist's findings perfectly, and yet still lean back in the chair and say, but she had a really good day yesterday. They aren't being defiant. They're trying to reconcile two versions of reality: the partner they may have known for decades, the parent who now struggles in subtle but undeniable ways. Updating that internal image requires letting go of something familiar, and the mind instinctively slows that process because sudden emotional losses overwhelm us. As we watch our loved ones struggle, instead of erasing the old image we have of them all at once, the brain stretches the transition, allowing hope and doubt to coexist for as long as possible. This coexistence is where selective optimism begins to take hold. And because early cognitive decline in a loved one often fluctuates, this makes all of this especially complicated. Your loved one has a good afternoon, a moment of clarity, and this becomes proof that nothing fundamentally has changed. Someone can appear entirely normal in one setting and noticeably impaired in another. And fluctuations like these feed the belief that perhaps we're just overreacting. And as time goes on, more troubling moments are also reframed. Missed medications, confusion, or repeated stories are brushed off as just normal aging. Now, none of these explanations are absurd. In fact, each one is plausible on its own. What makes them protective is the pattern they form together, a narrative that allows us to maintain emotional equilibrium a little longer. Selective optimism, however, requires work. Caregivers often begin compensating long before they consciously admit that something is changing. Here are some of the most common workarounds I've seen: handling the finances more frequently, driving your loved one around under the guise of convenience, or quietly double-checking your loved one's pill organizers. Even when a loved one begins to struggle in social situations, plans are adjusted to avoid exposing a loved one to anything that increases their confusion. And all this requires constant vigilance by caregivers. While they may pass it off as anxiety about their loved one, the body will always tell the truth through tension, disrupted sleep, and constant scanning for the next misstep. I want us to take a small pause together. These conversations can bring up a lot, I know. And if what you're hearing feels helpful, I hope you'll take a moment to hit that follow button. It's a simple act that helps me keep bringing you new stories, insights, and encouragement to help lighten your load, even if it's just a little. And if the platform you listen to this podcast on allows reviews and ratings, please share your experience. This moves us up on the podcast lists, and that's how we can reach more families and provide the support they need. There's another way to show your support, through a donation. Just look for the Buy Me a Coffee link in today's show notes. This helps us keep the mic on and the episodes coming. Thank you so much for listening and for being part of this community. Now I want you to consider this. Beneath that vigilance is grief. Though it rarely presents as open sorrow in the beginning, it shows up as a form of logic. It shows up as carefully constructed explanations that protect not only the person experiencing cognitive changes, but also the shared identity built over decades. Because when someone you love begins to change cognitively, it can feel as though the archive of your shared lives is becoming fragile. And memories are not just facts, they are anchors. And if those anchors loosen, the relationship itself can feel altered. The brain again tries to defend against that threat by preserving the version of the person it knows best, even when that present version is quietly evolving. I once worked with a woman who said her greatest fear was not her husband wandering off or safety concerns, but the possibility that her husband would forget how they met. The thought that he might lose that story, having to confront a kind of relational loneliness, she just could not accept. So for months, she leaned into the good days, the coherent conversations, the intact routines, allowing those moments to outweigh the growing evidence of her husband's decline. And culturally, we make this easier. We normalize forgetfulness as an unavoidable byproduct of aging. And while it's true that healthy brains slow down, slowing is not the same as structural change. A healthy aging brain may take a little longer to retrieve a name, but it will often circle back to get there. A brain undergoing neurodegenerative changes gradually loses that internal framework that supports reasoning, insight, and pattern recognition. And because these subtle changes are harder to confront, they linger in that ambiguous space where your hope can still argue its case. Eventually, most families reach a point when the protective narrative can no longer contain the reality. Sometimes it's triggered by a medical event, such as a fall or an infection, that amplifies their loved one's confusion to a degree that cannot be minimalized. Sometimes it's a major discovery. It may be a financial error or a driving incident that introduces tangible risk. And what I have repeatedly observed is that once families move toward acceptance, the atmosphere changes. Their energies can now be directed toward moving forward with information, resources, and support. Planning for the future, legally, financially, and medically, can begin. This is the power of radical acceptance. It's not resignation. It is a deliberate alignment with what is true so that energy can be spent wisely. Fighting reality consumes emotional resources without altering the trajectory of the disease. Working within reality allows families to protect safety, preserve dignity, and reduce the likelihood of crisis-driven decisions. If you find yourself in the early stages of noticing and explaining, I encourage you to approach your concern with curiosity rather than fear. Seeking evaluation does not create decline, it clarifies it. What matters is allowing yourself to see clearly enough to act proactively rather than reactively. When love stops protecting us from the truth and begins protecting us through it, the entire posture of caregiving shifts. And that shift, while difficult, often brings a steadier kind of peace. And if you're still feeling overwhelmed by all this information and see changes in your loved one, please consider joining an online support group, Alzheimer's Association at alzheimers.org and the Mayo Clinic at mayoclinic.org. Have wonderful groups you can join, people who are going through the exact same thing that you are. And I want you to know I also have your back. Please, if you have any questions or you just need a sympathetic ear, message me at our Facebook page. The link is in the show notes. And always, always give yourself this grace. No one is perfect at this. No one. You're doing the best you can. You're doing it from a place of love. And that is enough. I'm Kelly Burtonshaw, and it was my pleasure spending time with you today. Please, keep in touch.
Hi, I'm Peggy Wright, editor and producer of this podcast. We know that juggling your loved one's care while trying to manage your own life can truly become a balancing act. We want to help you as you navigate this journey by offering our support. You can reach out to us anytime by going to our Facebook page to ask questions, leave comments for Kelly, or talk with her one-on-one by setting up a chat. The link is in the show notes. And you can find us on YouTube and wherever you get your podcasts. If you like what you hear, please take a moment to rate and review so we can continue to provide relevant content. We look forward to hearing from you. Thank you for listening today.